Good Friday morning. This is the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing. Looking right at our significant fire impacts for today, we have winds both today and tomorrow out of the southwest with low humidity here across parts of western Utah, adjacent Nevada, and extending up into eastern Idaho and western Wyoming as well. That's that olive shade. Cooling down later in the weekend, you see this green shade through here. This is where cooler, showery weather will be coming in from the north and spreading south and eastwards, I should say, and that'll also affect these olive areas here. That's eastern Idaho and western Wyoming with cooler, more moist conditions later in the weekend. But before that, we have to contend with the wind both today and into tomorrow across parts of eastern Idaho and down into portions of Utah. It's an active day, lightning-wise, past 24 hours on the right-hand side, thousands of strikes all across Utah going into eastern Idaho, western Wyoming. On the right-hand side, you can see where the lightning was fairly dry in these lighter shades of gray to blue, and where there was wet mixed in here. So probably about a 50-50 mix of both wet and dry strikes. We'll see how that plays out later today as we warm up with some sunshine. Great Basin fire activity, new fire starts in the red circles. You can see quite a few all across the map, including some areas down in southwest Utah and into right along the edge of the Arizona Strip. So starting to dry out down there. Our more significant fires are further up in the north. And precipitation overall over the past 7 days, not including yesterday. You can see how dry we were across the northern half of our area, and that same story goes on for the past 30 days, and of course the typical wetness we see in our southern regions. Our ERC map, you can see this does not include the moisture that fell late last night. So as that lightning did occur, even though it was moderately wet in some areas, you can see where our ERCs are in the purple across eastern Idaho, northern Utah, even the dark red near the 90th to 96th percentile. The purple shades are 97th percentile and beyond. So with those critically dry fuels near record levels, as we dry out today and into tomorrow, we definitely have a good potential of holdovers. On the infrared satellite imagery, we see deep low pressure dropping down out of British Columbia, pulling in moisture that's going to be pushing into Idaho with cloudy skies, cooler temperatures, no real evidence of any monsoonal activity. There is drier air and also stronger winds with the tightness of these height contours. That winds will be the main issue as we go into the next 36 hours. So looking at conditions for today, on the left we see deepening low pressure dropping down out of British Columbia, a large pool of deep moisture through here with clouds, rain, and mountain snow. But it's the tight packing of these height lines which is increasing the southwest wind flow. Also some drier air punching in from central Nevada into parts of Utah. So for that reason, we have high risk for wind for a good portion of northwest Utah into eastern Idaho, even up into the central mountains a bit, and into parts of Nevada. A lot of these areas have received a large amount of lightning in the past 24 to 36 hours, so holdovers combined with wind will be a primary concern. And we look at wind conditions for today. You can see that our strongest belt of winds on the right-hand side here in this purplish to orange shade, gusts of 30, 35, even close to 40 miles per hour across parts of Nevada into Utah. And also here in eastern Idaho, these orange to purple shades, 30 to 35 mile an hour winds. Other areas almost as much. Again, so with that wide swath of lightning that we've received, this could be very significant. If we go to Saturday, we see that the trough of low pressure deepens. There's actually a plume of moisture now coming up from the south here, and that's going to bring some cooler, more humid conditions. But ahead of that, where there is still dry air, we have a concern for more wind with gusts over 30, 35 miles per hour combined with fairly low humidity. So again, we have high risk for wind in a large portion of Utah and parts of Nevada one more time. And then looking at the weather conditions themselves, you can see that area of purple, which is wind gusts of 40 to 45 miles per hour, expands and covers a much larger area of Utah. Slightly less winds up in Idaho, and still moderately breezy with gusts approaching 30 or 35 into northeast Nevada, and also off the Sierra front as well, getting quite windy with gusts approaching 40 miles per hour. Now on Sunday, on the left, that trough of low pressure deepens and a lot of moisture starts getting wrapped into that system, especially the further north you go into the central mountains of Idaho, where steady rain that could fall for several hours, even some wet snow above 7,500 feet. shows that our fuels, dryness levels on the right take a major hit back into the yellow and even into the green in areas that not that long ago were at record dry fuel levels. A pretty big reset button push up here in our northern areas and even to central portions of Utah and Nevada as well. Look at weather conditions on Sunday, and the thing that strikes out the most on the right-hand side is the wind. Significant winds. These dark purplish shades are gusts of 45 to 50 miles per hour across a good portion of Utah. So again, some of these drier areas, we look on the left-hand side where the humidities are still hovering around 18 to 23%. If there is holdover activity or some large fire activity, wind's definitely an issue. And actually, with that kind of wind, structural type damage in terms of the down power lines, also a possibility in terms of an ignition source. Moderately breezy out of the northwest here across Nevada with the gusts approaching 30, so any ongoing fires in this vicinity will have more wind to deal with on Sunday, although humidity should be coming up a little bit instead of the single digits, more in terms of 15 to 20%. 3-day precipitation totals significant in the mountains of central Idaho, 1.75 inches, kind of in the Sawtooths and the Salmon Chalice. However, towards the Pioneer Fire, considerably less, maybe a quarter inch or less. And also here in northern to northeast Nevada, some places could see locally near 3/4 of an inch of rain. But by and large, most areas, just a couple of hundredths of an inch of rain to maybe a tenth. Going further down the road on Monday, trough of low pressure, but we see drier air pushing into most of the region finally. However, you can see on the right-hand side, a lot of our dryness levels have taken a big hit. And then going further down the road into Tuesday, similar story. Wednesday, again, we're in a zonal flow, but there's drier air pushing in here, most of the moisture to the north, slowly starting to dry things out. And then by Thursday, still in the vicinity of low pressure trough, maybe a bit of higher humidity here in the far north, but you can see maybe a bit of expansion of dryness across Nevada, but still moderately dry only or even to moist in a large portion of our region. Precipitation totals over the next 7 days, very similar to the 3-day total. And looking down the road for our 8-14-day outlook, September 9th through the 15th, much cooler than normal here across much of our northern areas and eastern areas, and drier than normal. So temperature should be cooler, but we should be seeing much less in the way of any precipitation, but any drying of our fuel towards critical should be a very slow process at this point. This concludes our briefing. Have a great day.